Welcome back to my channel. I am your favorite mother of three, Bougie Vintage, and today's video is a story time. Welcome to the Halloween series, girl. Prepare to be spooked. Since it is spooky season, I wanted to do something that's fun for you. That's why I'm wearing a costume. And let's get into the story. So as you can see by the title, my best friend's mama tried to kill her. In this story, we're gonna call my best friend Bunny. Okay, so my homegirl Bunny, she had a stepmom, and her stepmom pretty much had a mental illness. She was a little cray-cray. Let's just say she would hear voices. She wasn't no spring chicken. She was getting up in age, and pretty much she was jealous of Bunny. And so because she was jealous of Bunny, she would take out all of her anger and her frustration on her stepdaughter. So just as a background, Bunny's stepmom, let's call her Florence. Bunny's stepmom, because she was so jealous of Bunny, she would have her dressed in things from the thrift store, like from head to toe thrift store. But she would be Gucci down, okay, Prada down, Fendi down, okay? She had the drip, while Bunny was pretty much in rags. And it was like, well, excuse me. I mean, first of all, hold on, because I love me a good thrift haul, okay? I live at the thrift store. But it's one thing to go to the thrift store and find, you know, some top tier items. It's another thing for somebody to be forcing you to wear stuff from the thrift store while they're always dressed to the nines.
I don't like that.
You know, and not giving you an option. I feel like that's completely different. And they're not buying cute things for you at the thrift store either. They're like dressing you in like rags. So that was a no. Keep in mind, the only reason Florence, Miss Stepmama, can even afford the drip is because of Bunny's daddy's fortune, okay? That being said, that wasn't enough, okay? She was not gonna stop there. As if enslaving her daughter was not enough, or her stepdaughter, sorry, was not enough, she decided she was gonna hire a whole hitman to take out Bunny.
Electric chair.
So as I'm listening to this, I am absolutely positively gagged, okay? Because what do you mean your stepmom is hiring a whole hitman to take you out? Like, I mean, you cute, but you ain't that cute. I'm sorry. Like, I'm sorry. You know, the hitman that Florence hired to take out Bunny, he had a conscience. He thought he could get the job done, but he really didn't want to get the job done. And he was pretty loyal to Bunny's dad. He wasn't about to kill Bunny. He tells Bunny in a panic, he's like, listen, girl, you got to go. I don't care where you go. I don't care what you do. Just run far, far away from here and do not come back, because your stepmom is out for blood. She wants to take you out. Like, she's not trying to see you. She instructed me to kill you. But your daddy was my homeboy, and it's never gonna give that, okay? I'm never gonna hurt you. So you gotta go. So now Bunny is distraught. Girl, she is running through the forest. She's tripping over things, okay? She is falling in the forest. I'm like, girl, get up. Get up. You ain't got time for all this. When she's telling me the story, I'm like, you were not over there trekking through that water like Harriet Tubman, please. Like, what? She was frolicking like Little Rabbit Foo-Foo through that forest, and I was absolutely done. I'm puzzled at this point, because how could the woman that raised you treat you so bad to the point where you are now lost in a forest and pretty much running for your life and having to protect yourself? How is this so? The thing is, it's super duper common. You want to show your costume too? Mm-hmm. We're twinning! You look cute. Okay. So Bunny at this point is super duper distraught. She is seeing things that ain't even there.
Especially get the keys.
She's hallucinating, and it gets to the point where she just feels weak and she just falls to her knees and she starts weeping because she's stressed. She's like, I ain't got time for this. This is very ghetto. Like, I'm trying to live a soft life. I'm not trying to do all this. That's not why I'm here, you know? So she gets to crying, as she should. Anyways, since she was in the forest, apparently there was a whole bunch of animals around. Now, I have walked through the forest before, but like when I go on my little walks, the animals don't be coming near me. But her claim is that all these animals were up in the forest and it was like she could communicate with them. And she was like that. She's very much in tune with nature. Very much giving Crocodile Dundee, very much giving Dr. Dolittle. And so the animals, it was almost like they were spirit guides, or like they were wanting to communicate with her and check in on her to make sure she was okay, because they were wondering, the same as me, what is this Caucasian lady doing in the middle of the damn forest crying like this? Who sent you, ma'am? So because she found comfort in the animals in the forest, she very much liked to sing to them, and she swore up and down that the birdies would be singing back to her. And baby was living her life like it was a Broadway musical for real. She'd be breaking out into song, you'd be talking to her, and she randomly just starts singing. And so she was carrying on like this, the way she carried on with me, she'd be carrying on like this in the damn forest. Anyway, it gets to the point where she needs a place to stay. And because she cannot return home, she ends up relying on these animals that she met in the forest. And I'm listening to this and I'm like, you sound absolutely insane. You sound crazy. You relied on animals to get you to safety. But I guess if you won with nature, you won with nature. So, I mean, Bunny gets to walking through the forest and she lays her eyes on a tiny little house in the middle of the forest. Now, me being me, I ain't about to approach no house in the middle of no damn forest, because why is there a house in the middle of the forest? Whose house is this? How long has it been here? I want to see the deed to the property, but at the same time, I ain't that damn nosy, so I'm probably not going to approach the house in the middle of the forest. But she approaches the house in the middle of the forest. She approaches the house and she's looking in the windows. The windows, by the way, are dirty as all get out. Like, they are nasty, okay? Like, ain't nobody cleaned, wiped this window off, sprayed this window down in 1,500 years. Like, unacceptable! It's dirty. And she just uses her hand to dust it off. She knocks on the door. Nobody answers the door. So homegirl just lets herself in. I said, ma'am, it's giving break and enter. Okay, you're going to jail. Like, how are you just gonna let yourself in to this random house in the middle of the damn forest? Who does that? But certain people are very much entitled. So now she's in the house and she has all the animals that helped her get to this house in the house with her. I said, now she got the animals and people in the house. Like, this is OD. Okay, this is too much, 3 much, 4 much. You have no right to even be in the people's house, but to have the animals in the people's house is next level disrespectful, okay? So she's in their house and she's critiquing the dust and the cobwebs. She's critiquing the dust in the house and she's having an opinion about all of it. And I mean, I probably would be saying the same. Like, if I go in your house and it's dirty, I'm going to I'll probably be thinking it. And maybe if you're not there, I'm going to say it out loud. Now, because Bunny had been subjected to so much abuse, she is analyzing this house and makes the conclusion, or draws the conclusion, that whoever lives here ain't got a mama, okay? Because if they did have a mom, they probably would have a clean house. Not that Florence had been cleaning the house, but Florence was making Bunny clean up her house. So I think Bunny's thought process was that moms make their daughters clean, which they do in a sense, but not to the level that Bunny had been subjected to. Now, because she tends to fawn, aka people please, she figured if she cleans up this house for whoever lives here, they will let her stay. So pretty much she's trying to secure her spot in the house. I noticed right away that this was a trauma response. She was trying to be the best that she could be to be accepted. And this was obviously learned behavior. She claimed that she had given all the animals that had helped her get to safety instructions on which parts of the house that they need to help clean. And I'm looking at her like, is she sure Florence ain't her mama? Because the both of y'all seem to have not been wrapped too tight. Both of y'all seem to have issues. She's hearing voices. You're telling me the animals are cleaning house. I'm gagged, okay? I said, listen, if you want me to believe your story, don't be adding in no weird mess like this. You have chipmunks cleaning chimneys? Where do they do that at? Like, chipmunks are about this damn big, okay? Well, this big. Like, literally can fit in the palm of your hand. Ain't no chipmunk cleaning a chimney. It's just not possible. Anyway, they allegedly cleaned house from top to bottom. They dusted everything, got all the cobwebs out. They washed the dishes, swept the floors, mopped everything, okay? They cleaned house. So I'm like thinking, I know how long it takes to clean my house. That's a whole day's work. And nobody, not even one person, whoever lives here did not pop up in this whole entire time. That's a little crazy. Like, where are they? Why wouldn't at least one person have returned to the house while she was in there tidying it and like call the police? Because that's what I would assume would have happened unless they're like on vacation in Bermuda. Why was nobody home? Or why did nobody come home during all of this? So now, because she's already broke and entered, the next thing to do after you clean this house would be to be nosy. So she gets exploring the house. So she heads upstairs and she notices a bedroom with a whole bunch of tiny beds in it. And she said the beds were wooden and they had names carved into them. But the names were weird. She said she remembers thinking to herself, like, if I had kids, I damn sure would not be naming any one of them Sneezy. Like, what is this? What kind of name is Sneezy? Why would somebody's mama name them Sneezy? Anyway, she ends up falling asleep. It's the entitlement for me. Because just because you came into this house that you were not invited to and you cleaned up the house does not mean you get to now sleep in the bed. It's giving Goldilocks. What are you doing? Like, could you imagine? This is actually, what's that term when people do this? She's a squatter, okay? She is a whole squatter. Did you guys watch the Roommate from Hell on Netflix documentary? Oh my gosh. Imagine the homeowners come home and realize that there's some random chick squatting in their house. They would probably be confused because that condition they left their house in is not the condition that they came back to. And that's exactly what happened. They were confused AF when they walked in the door and they saw that it was tidy. So they come home. Because Bunny had been cooking and left some food on the stove, the house is smelling good, okay? It's smelling like Thanksgiving dinner is upon us. And so now the homeowners return and they're shook, okay? They're like, wait a damn minute. The house is clean, there's food cooking. We ain't hired Mimi the maid.
You gotta clean.
I have on a t-shirt.
You gotta clean.
That's what,
ain't that what you clean with? You need to buy her a fur like you bought me one.
get this hoe out the house.
Who is in our house or who was in our house and why would they do this? This is a scheme set up by Todd. Like, they are perplexed. They're like, no. I don't like this. So they end up grabbing at straws to figure out who is gonna go investigate who is up in their house. If anybody is in their house. They want to inspect the bedroom and they're like, well, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. And you know who they choose to inspect the bedroom? The mute one. The one who could not speak, okay? It's very much giving bullying. Very much giving bullying, okay? So this little boy, he didn't want to go and inspect, but everybody had pretty much said that he has to. And so he had no choice. So he heads up the stairs and he peeks into the bedroom and he sees my homegirl in the bed, but he didn't realize that it was a girl. He didn't know what it was because she had the blanket over her head at the time. And so he comes back downstairs and he explains to them, even though he's mute, he explains to them that there is a giant monster up there. And they decide, well, ain't no monster finna stay in here, so they're like, we have to kill it. At this point in time, I'm like, oh, ma'am, you can't catch a break because first your stepmama tried to kill you. Now there's a bunch of men trying to kill you. You were better off just staying in the forest. At least the animals weren't trying to kill you, eat you, nothing. You should have just stayed in the forest where you belong. So the men that lived in the house, they happened to be minors. And so they all have hatchets and they go into the bedroom and are pretty much about to hack her to death. So they're in the room, they're ready to hack her, but they want to kill her face to face. So they remove the sheets off and they see it ain't no monster. It's a big old woman spread across 3 beds because these men happen to be little people. So as it turned out, the beds were not for children. They were for little people. Of course, the angry one with short man syndrome, he has so much to say about women, okay? Like, so much to say about women. He was calling her poison. He was saying something about they have wicked wiles. And then when they asked him to elaborate, like, what are wicked wiles? What is that? He couldn't explain because he just made it up. Like, what is a wicked wow? What is that? And so, out of all 7 men, the angry one, he was the only one that wanted, like, absolutely nothing to deal with her at first. Come on, Mr. Hard to Get. So when Bunny wakes up, she realizes these are not children. These are men. And so based on their names on the beds, she was able to pick out who was who. The men acted like the names that were on the bed. So Doc and Bashful, Sneezy, Dopey, Sleepy, Grumpy, and Happy. So she starts picking them out and naming them. And so Grumpy, the one that's clearly angry, says, well, we know who we are. Ma'am, who are you? We want to know who you is because you're in our house. You didn't clean up. Now you're sleeping in our bed. You cooked our food. You didn't even ask us if this is what we want to eat. What are you doing in our house? And so, of course, Bunny ain't got nothing to hide. So she introduces herself. This man sat up there and told her, you gotta go. We don't want nothing to do with you. This is done. It's over. We're through. Okay? Like, no. She tells him, like, no, sir, I can't. I'm not going anywhere. I can't because I'm going to get killed. So everybody's like, killed? By who? Because at the end of the day, she was so pretty. It didn't even make sense that somebody would want to kill her. You know, she should have had pretty privilege. But instead, she's over here telling them that she is going to be murdered. So when they ask her by who, she's like, my stepmama, the queen. So at this point, Grumpy is flying off the handle. He's like, no. He said, no, I'm not going to fool with this lady. You not staying here because if your stepmom finds out, if Miss Florence finds out, we're all gonna be tied up in your mess. And I ain't about to go to hell in a handbasket with you, ma'am. You're on your own, okay? Go fight your own battle. Grumpy ends up telling Bunny, girl, your mama is a witch, okay? She is full of evil and I don't want nothing to do with it. So unfortunately, you have to go. I mean, he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong because Florence was very problematic. So since old girl was fighting for her life,
all my life I had to fight.
She pleads with them and tells them, listen, if y'all let me stay, I will take care of you, okay? I will cook. I will clean. I will sew. Which man gonna turn that down? Which man is gonna turn that down? Please tell me. I'll wait. Like, ain't no man on the face of this earth turning down a woman that says she gonna cook, clean, and sew. Take care of the house. All that and no commitment. Baby, the men were living their wildest dream, okay? Anyway, these niggas was dirty AF, okay? They were dirty because they were minors. They worked in the mines. So, we in the mines now. Like, they worked in the mines. So they were very dirty, but they wanted to eat whatever she had been cooking because it would smell like oxtail and curry goat. Girl, she had a full spread ready for them. That being said, she had to force these grown ass men to clean their hands, to just simply wash their hands and get tidied up for dinner time. Like, they were literally trying to hide the fact that their hands were dirty because they were so hungry that they didn't even want to clean. I said, it's a pandemic. It's COVID, and you're not gonna wash your hands? No, ma'am. No, ma'am. I said, this is familiar. No shade. No shade. In a lot of ways, art was imitating life. And the misogyny, it was jumping out. So all of the men were open to the concept of washing their hands and face before sitting down to eat. All but one. Can you guess who it was? The angry one. Grumpy was like, not gonna do it.
I'm like,
The misogyny was jumping out. It was very loud and clear that he wasn't gonna take no orders from no woman. Nobody with a coochie was gonna tell him what to do. So she's telling me this man had his arms folded. He was cussing her out, telling her she coming up in here, she changed everything. She might as well paint the walls pink with all the stuff that she's doing around there. I mean, it hadn't even been 24 hours. It hadn't even been 24 hours and this man was hell bent, okay? That being said, Bunny didn't care. She said, no clean, no eat. Okay, if you don't want to wash your hands, you're not about to eat this food that I done cooked. And I know you're hungry because you were at work all day. You deserve a hot meal, but you also should clean your hands before you eat. He refused. So his friends picked him up and literally threw him in the bathtub. So now you're soaked from head to toe. Now you looking like a wet cat because you want to be nasty. So instead of just washing your hands, now you gotta clean from head to toe. You feel fresh, don't ya? As she's telling me this, I said to myself, I just know that nigga had cheese, okay? Because, ew. Ew. Anyway, back to the stepmama house. So, Florence and her crazy self, she is coming to the reality that the hitman that she hired might as well have been Hitman Holla because he did not kill Bunny. He didn't kill her. He had tricked Florence, and Florence was hot, okay? She realized that the heart that he had provided her with was actually not the heart of Bunny, but the heart of a pig. This infuriated her, and she's like, you know what? I'm gonna just take matters into my own hands, because you give these men one job and they can't even do it. Like, you had one job, sir. Kill the girl, and you brought me back the heart of a wild boar? Where do you get off? Like, I paid you for a service and it's not surfacing. So she was mad. In order to get the job done, she decides she's going to disguise herself as an old woman. She decides she's going to find her stepdaughter, give her stepdaughter a poisonous apple, and ensure that her stepdaughter eats this poisonous apple, which will then put her into a coma and render her brain dead. If this ain't cold, I don't know what is, because, like, ma'am, she's not in your house anymore and you're still mad. Like, why does she have to be dead? Like, why can't y'all just, like, live in separate houses, you know? But it wasn't good enough for her. I'm like, it be your own damn people. It be your own damn people. I be knowing. So at this point, the man and Bunny are getting along just fine. Bunny gets to telling them her business. You know, she's sharing with them all her tea, spilling it. And they have a night of dancing and singing and partying and just getting along. Once it's bedtime, she insists that the men go upstairs to their bed. But they decide, well, Doc decides that she can take their bedroom. They're gonna be some gentlemen and sleep downstairs, and she can have their room upstairs. Now, I'm thinking, like, I mean, that sounds nice, but it just doesn't sound like anything men would do. Like, that don't even sound like reality. You know, men love their bed. So she accepted their offer and she went upstairs. Obviously, Grumpy was the most upset about this. He was not trying to give his bed up. Like I said, men love their bed. He was furious that he had to give his bed up. And so when she went up to their room, she was saying her prayers before bed, and she prayed for all of them to be blessed, but she prayed specifically that Grumpy would like her. I'm sat there like, again with the fawning. Baby girl, everybody not gonna like you.
Shut the fuck up. Shut up.
Everybody not gonna like me. Everybody not gonna like the story that I'm telling. Like, it is what it is, but I'm not here to make you comfortable. I'm not here to please you. I don't do the fawning thing, girl. Been there, done that. Don't need to do it again. Like, no, can't do it. That being said, that little man was toxic as hell. Okay, he was toxic anyway. But he right in a way, because she came up in their space. It's not like he is in her house. She came up in their space. Now I get it. It's hospitality to give up the bed and the room for her, whatever. But she came in there like a damn wrecking ball and was taking over. And realistically, because he didn't want to share his room and bed, and he was, you know, putting up a little bit of resistance, they should have removed his bed, because she only needed 3 beds to sleep on. They should have removed his bed from upstairs and let him have it downstairs, and they could be uncomfortable, but they shouldn't be making him uncomfortable. That being said, it wasn't for him to be taking his anger out on the woman, because it was the man that suggested she could have the room in the first place. So his anger needs to be redirected. I'm just saying. Now, Florence was ready to carry out her evil plan. So off she went. She poisons the apple and heads out to find her stepdaughter. The men had to go to work this day, so they warn her. She's a little naive. It's giving ditzy. I told you she's in the forest talking to animals, like, and they could sense that about her, because she, like I said, she was spilling her tea on the first night. So they knew she might be a little off, okay? So they were like telling her before they left for work that day, we want you to be straight. We want you to be protected. Don't be talking to don't talk to strangers. Like, they gave her the whole spiel. Don't. Okay? Don't talk to strangers. Don't do nothing we wouldn't do, even though you just met us and probably don't know what we wouldn't do. Stay your little butt in the house. Okay? Be safe. Take care of yourself. We'll be back later.
And that's all I wanted to say.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go. Y'all take care.
The men specifically warn her about her mama and tell her that your mama is into witchcraft. You might not know, but we be knowing. And so be especially careful. Now, Bunny assured them she would be fine. She was like, I got this. I'm good. Like, you don't have to worry about me. Maybe they needed to be worried about her, because the truth was she was a little naive, a little slow. She hadn't had enough life experience. So it was coming off as a lack of street smarts, which would land her obviously in problems should she be faced with any. So they're heading off to work, and she decides she gonna give each one of them a little peck on the cheek. And this was the first time that Mr. Old Grumpy showed a different emotion other than anger. He showed happiness. He was like, oh, coy and almost embarrassed. It looked like his name was supposed to be Bashful, okay? He was red as a beet. And it was at this moment that I realized, oh, so he does like women for that, but he don't like women for company. But that's another story for another day, okay? He don't want a woman in his space, but should one kiss him, he fall into pieces. Does this not sound familiar? I bet you know one or two. The men are out and she's at the house by herself. Lo and behold, her stepmom, who is unrecognizable. I'm saying she had the SPFX makeup on smash, okay? Special effects makeup was looking good, okay? Unrecognizable. She comes through, she's looking like an old lady, like even her height is different, like she just looks different. And so Bunny encounters her, and she tells Bunny as she's walking past the house that her pies smell delicious. But she gets to telling her about the men that live in the house and tells her if you really want to impress them, you gotta make apple pie, because Bunny was making gooseberry pie. So her stepmom, Florence, has a bunch of apples and she's like, you should use these apples instead. Don't nobody mess with no gooseberry. Like, where did you get a gooseberry from? Like, it's apple pie and that's it. Like, nobody wants anything but apple pie. So get rid of them gooseberries, get with the apple. Now, like I told you before, when you're one with nature, nature will respond. So all the animals that were pretty much keeping an eye out for Bunny, they are on high alert and they realize that the old lady has some trickery up her sleeve. And so the birds start swarming her and they are attacking her full-fledged to the point where she can hardly stand. This ends up backfiring because she ends up using this to her advantage. She acts like she's all distraught, and she was, but it keyed in her mind to act like she needed like to come inside of Bunny's house and get like a drink of water and like sit down a minute because she needs to catch her breath, girl. Now the animals in the forest are panicked, girl. They is panicked and they're like, we're not gonna do this. So they head out to find the men that live in the tiny house in the forest. And they insist that the men come back home. So at the house, the little old lady is telling Bunny that she is a magic like wishing apple. And this is what I mean by you ain't got no street smarts, because if somebody comes up to me and tells me that they got a magic wishing apple, I'm gonna look at them like they're crazy and you need medication.
Business straight jack.
Like crazy. Okay? I'm not gonna believe them, but she was very naive. So she's like, yeah, like I am going to eat this apple and make a wish. So the old lady, aka Florence, convinces Bunny that she should make a wish pertaining to a man that she may or may not be in love with. And that's the only reason that Bunny was like, oh my God, yeah, because there is somebody that she had her eye on for a hot little minute, but like just never got a chance to get with him. I said, girl, you need to get on Tinder. Because you would have swiped right, he would have swiped right, and then we wouldn't be sitting here talking about this problematic story.
I don't like that.
So though Bunny could sense that things were not all the way right, because she was naive, she ends up falling for the okie dokie and decides that, you know what, I'm not gonna follow my gut on this one. How bad could it be? I mean, it's an apple, it's an old lady. I'm gonna take a bite, you know? And all I could think was like, does nobody read their Bible? Does nobody read their Bible anymore? Do not take apples from anybody, okay? Just don't do it. Don't take apples, forbidden fruits, peaches, pears, plums, nothing. Don't take fruit from people. The only time you should have fruit is if you went to the grocery store and bought it yourself. Word of advice, word to the wise. Next thing you know, my homegirl is falling into a deep slumber. She falling asleep, girl. She is dazed and confused. She is like, oh God, what is happening? I feel so tired. Stand up.
Stand up!
Like, get up, girl. What are you talking about? Her mama didn't even wait for her to hit the ground, girl. She taken off like a thief in the damn night. Her job was done. It was set in stone, girl. The homegirl was dead, and that's all she cared about. Or she was in a coma, and she couldn't be technically awake. So now she felt like she was the it girl. She had the je ne sais quoi. You know, she was fabulous in every aspect of the word, because the person who made her feel insecure about herself by simply breathing was no longer technically with us. The men that lived at the house go on a wild goose chase trying to locate Florence, and they catch her, and she tries to kill them with a boulder. Okay, she tries to push a boulder off the cliff, but she ends up falling off of the cliff, okay? They found her body later on, girl. Karma, as it should. Instant karma, because she had no right. Like, kill and be killed, girl. Obviously, the men were pleased that Florence had fallen off the cliff and was sat there lifeless at the bottom of the cliff, but they had another issue. Their new friend, Bunny, she was gone. She was lifeless. So when they returned home, they held a vigil for her, but they couldn't bring themselves to bury her because, one, she was just so beautiful, but two, she wasn't really dead. She was just in a coma, and like, who's gonna bury her alive? Like, that's crazy. That being said, the men ended up making her a glass coffin. So it was like a bed with glass over it, and you could see her because they wanted to honor her and preserve her, but they didn't want to just put her somewhere that they couldn't have her on display because she was just that beautiful. The gag in all this was the thing that her mom or her stepmom was so jealous of wasn't really beauty on the outside, but her inward beauty was unmatched. She was just so dope and selfless, and she was just the purest soul ever. And because her stepmom was vile and knew she was vile and knew she would never not be vile, she didn't want to be faced with that every single day. That was just something that she would never be able to achieve. She would never be able to purchase. So all the Gucci drip that she had, it was just a mask. She was never going to be able to exude all the things that Bunny exuded. That being said, there was a man that had heard about the beautiful woman in the glass and gold coffin. And he traveled from far, y'all. Like far. He traveled from very far to come and be at her tombside and worship her. Because she was so beautiful and he was so, I want to say desperate. Like, all these women alive on this earth and you are sat there thinking about the dead one? Child, please. Like, I couldn't deal. That being said, when he finally gets to her and sits there and meets her, he decides that's not enough. This weirdo decide he gonna kiss her. Like, she is dead. She cannot consent to you kissing her, sir. Now that's where my head goes, but it might be a good thing that he kissed her. So now I'm like, okay, you don't find it strange that a man you ain't never met before traveled from way over yonder, be at your side while your body is pretty much lifeless, and then request that the glass come off so he could kiss you on your mouth? You don't find that strange?
That's suspicious. That's weird.
Like, that's not weird to you? Because it's weird to me. He couldn't find somebody alive somewhere. No woman that was alive was willing to deal with him. So he decides to find the dead girl that he can manipulate. Like, what? Let me not project. Let me not project. That being said, him kissing her ended up reviving her. It was like, for the first time, I want to say in forever, girls, give me Elsa. For the first time in forever. For the first time, she experienced true, genuine love. True, genuine connection. And it's a miracle. The doctors, they can't explain it. But the kiss revived her. It pretty much breathed life back into her. And her eyes pop open. And she's like, where the hell am I? How I get here? Why am I on this hard tomb? What is going on? So she wakes up out of this deep slumber. And I'm like, you had to have just been lazy. Like, you was tired of cooking and cleaning, getting no dick. Because how else do you just sleep that damn long? You was pretending, girl. Ain't no way somebody coming to kiss you woke you up. Okay, she was tired. And I get it. That being said, everyone, and I mean everyone, even Grumpy's mean old butt, was rejoicing and happy that Bunny was awake. Anyway, before I knew this lady is hitched, I said, one kiss and now you riding off into the sunset with your husband? This is why and how you ended up in the predicament you were in the first place. You being naive, ma'am. Okay, you don't just marry the first man that kisses you. Am I still projecting? I can't. I think the moral of this story is, baby, trust no one. Not even your own stepmama, okay? You can't trust anybody in these streets. You don't know who is out for blood. Protect yourself always. Do not, I repeat, do not run off with the first man that kisses you. What in the world is this, okay? There's so many takeaways from this story. That being said, this is the end of, obviously, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. And this is the Disney Princess series. I will be back telling another princess story the way I want to tell it, okay? That's why I'm in my costume. But yeah, I love you all so much. Tell me At what point in the story did you guys realize that I was telling Snow White? And let me know if you guys are digging this story time. I'm like, it's October. Let's just have some fun, okay? It doesn't always have to be trauma. It doesn't always have to be tea. We can have fun, guys. This is not the series that I was talking to you guys about when I ended Tasmanian Devil. Just an FYI. This is just an intermission before we get into the knit and the grit. Okay? I love you all so much, and I will definitely see you in the next one when I am interpreting my version of another Disney princess story. Love you.